Hello mga kababayan, welcome to my channel. Welcome to Laruan ni Obi-Wan. For this afternoon's review, we are going to take a look at the Netflix original TV series Masters of the Universe Revelation King Grayskull figure. So let's examine the contents of our purchase. So we have the King Grayskull figure, an alternate head sculpt, a shield, swords, actually half swords, and an alternate set of hands. One would be a fist, the other would be a relaxed hand. As for the cape, it is attached to the figure. If you already have these two figures on board in your collection, then the King Grayskull figure, the points of articulation would be just these. Let's do a quick 360 view of the figure without any of the accessories attached to it, including the cape. So let's take a look at the head sculpts that are included in this deluxe box set. So this is the one that is actually attached on the figure when you take it out of packaging. So let's take out the other head sculpt. So actually the difference would be only with regards to the impression. As to the length of the hair, actually it's just the same. It's just going to be the face that's going to be different. Okay, so let's take a look at the accessories that are included with this King Grayskull figure, and let's start with the cape. So there are two sections to the cape actually when you take it out or detach it from the figure. But first, when you detach it out of the figure, just get your scissors and get rid of this, because that's going to be hanging on the back side of the figure this way, and that is very unsightly. So just take out the scissors and snip, snip, snip. And okay, so let's take a look at the cape. So we have the fluffed up area, which has two velcro systems, and those two velcros, you loop it just underneath the harness of the figure to secure the cape to the figure. Now this side over here, the second part of the cape actually is the main cape and has the wires, and as you could see, that is very unsightly. So when you attach it to the back of the figure, you have this flap that is really exposed, and you know that it is a wired system, and it is quite unsightly. So what you do, if you have time, or possibly if you have a sewing kit immediately on hand, is to sew this part over here to the fluff area, so it hides that section of the U for the bendable wire, which makes the look of the figure from the back side really okay or nice. So let's take a look now at the power swords. So actually this is a nice rendition of the power swords. So this is the, I think of course it's the gold one, so this goes to He-Man. So, and this side, the other half is those, of course we have the color representing Skeletor, so this other side goes to Skeletor. And if you have two halves, actually they combine to form the main power sword, which is this. But for this figure, this whole power sword is not included. We only have these two halves. So we have to give King Grayskull either a left sword or a right sword, or make him hold both swords in both hands. And it would have been nice if they just included this separate piece instead of a shield. So let us first take a look at the shield. So the shield is nicely made. The paint is well done. We don't have any splashes or overlays, and the crisscross, the red, it's painted okay. So with the gold outer trimming and also the straps, so giving us a really premium feel for this purchase. So I just wonder why I did not purchase this figure immediately when it came out at my local Target. But anyway, it's still available, and I got it for less than retail, so I'm happy. Okay, so if they just gave us a whole power sword instead of two half swords, well, it's still okay to have two half swords and a shield, but depends personally which would be the best combination that you want: a whole power sword and a shield, or two shields, or possibly just two power swords, or one whole power sword. Well, I think the combination that would be best if this is going to be a premium product or premium release is to give us a whole power sword and two half swords instead of the shield. But this is the content of the purchase, so it's okay to still have a shield, so no complaints about that. So let's move on. Okay, so for customization ideas, there's actually a lot of customization ideas or other YouTube channels who already showcase the things that you could possibly do with these three figures if you are really, or you have the intention of really making the 2002 King Grayskull figure. I'm not going to take that really hard route because, one, I would want to have a figure that is working, because of course we purchased this one out of the door. That's about something like $29.99, or even if it's less, somehow with taxes it is somehow between the range of $30. So why ruin a perfectly okay figure just to get to the 2002 version of King Grayskull? So my easiest solution would just be to take out the harness, put it on this guy, take out the harness. And I already tried with regards to the head sculpt, using this head sculpt with this harness, and somehow with this body and the hair. Just like the issue with this figure, they have really long hair, so the portion of the cape, this one would always interfere, and we would have a really less articulating head unit for a He-Man figure or a King Grayskull figure. That is our intention. So especially this one, even if you put the cape to this end over here of the harness, because of how the hair is molded, somehow that is just going to limit the articulation of the head. So actually the really likely candidate is this head sculpt. Anyway, I really don't have any gripe with this head sculpt. Actually, it is okay because we really have short hair on this figure, so even if you loop that cape to the harness system, actually we still have articulation points. So let's do it. Okay, so I made two King Grayskull figures. The other I would reveal later, but let's start with the figure that we have on hand, the one that we started a review with. So instead of taking this figure apart and taking the vital pieces of this, the boots, the handguards, the loin guard, and the chest harness, instead of going that route, I just take off the chest harness of this figure and assign it to the He-Man figure, which I would be showing later. Now the cape that you could see the outline on the back of the figure. So let's go to the back first. So the cape, this cape actually came from this Marvel Legends figure. So Gun is the Stormbreaker head, and Gun is the cape for utilization. So let's concentrate on the back of this figure. Instead of using the twin swords, the half swords that came with this box deluxe set, I instead opted to use a whole power sword which came from the He-Man figure. Now the scabbard that you see that is attached to the harness, the chest harness, actually is from a Star Wars Black Series action figure. So that used to be a bow receptacle, now it's a sword receptacle, that way. So as you could see from the back, looks good, and the cut on the actually the cape is really low to accommodate the sword holder on the chest harness. Anyway, I also took a look at the some history books and noted that how Roman soldiers would sling on their capes or their cloaks would be really this low too, and so I just followed that system. So there you go. So Roman inspired, Centurion inspired. Okay, so let's go to the front. Let's first get rid of the sword, because to somehow improve articulation on the head with a scabbard and a cape on the back, I have to reduce the length of the hair of the alternate head sculpt that comes with this box set. So the original head sculpt, actually one of the original head sculpts, really had a long back hair. Now this is really though accurate to the Netflix TV series, this somehow really impedes articulation of the head if you have the cape that has that fluffy thing around the shoulder. So really it looks good, but you can't play with it. So what's the use? So I want a good looking figure and at the same time something that I could play with. So what I did was to cut the portion of that hair. So instead of cutting straight up, just use your X-Acto knife and cut on the bottom like this at a diagonal angle. So once you made a cut of the hair, the edges somehow are that clean instead of having a straight edge, and at the same time, because of the angled cut, somehow it still aids in the articulation point of the head unit of this figure. So as for the use of the chest harness, the He-Man, the Revelations He-Man chest harness on this Grayskull figure, somehow it's still okay because of we have the red bands on the hair, and we have the color is actually a match with the red edge on the chest harness or the chest protector, and those black squares, those red squares on the chest. So it's actually the color combination is okay. So judging from this side, that way, so the color of the cape, the red color on the or accent colors on the chest harness, and the hair, so everything is okay. So the gauntlets, I did not take it out, but just I let it on the figure. So actually it's a match with the belt and the loin cloth and the top of the boots. And actually from afar, this figure actually is okay, looks good, still reminiscent of the King Grayskull that we have. And I like this King Grayskull better with a whole sword instead of two half swords. Okay, so presenting my own version or a simplified custom version of my King Grayskull figure. So I have two King Grayskull figures now. So one from the older 2002 design inspired and the Netflix TV series inspired. Okay, so let's go to this build. Really simple modifications actually. So the head that I used is from a Revelations Faker figure. So the other head sculpt that comes with this figure, the one with the red eyes, so I just painted the red eyes with black marker pen. So actually now it looks okay. So I just used the Revelations Grayskull chest harness, but with regards to the forearm protectors, the gauntlets, it is stock version of this Revelations He-Man figure. So what I did is just to match the color of the red color on the chest symbol of the harness. I painted the round parts of the belt and the gauntlets and the forearm protectors, so it's going to match with the color of the chest harness, the center design, and the color of the shield. So the head, we have really good articulation on the head instead of the Revelation He-Man head. Somehow that head still really grapples with this thing, this furry thing on the shoulder. So instead of using the He-Man head, I used the Faker head and just painted the eyes from red to black. So we have really nice articulation on the head. So this is a figure that you could play with and at the same time display. So if you want more articulation, actually just move these shoulder thingies to the back a little bit, so to improve head articulation. But with regards to looks, if you put this down, it really does not matter if this head sculpt has shorter hair, because by the looks of it right now, the shoulder things conforms to the curve of the ends of the hair of this head sculpt, so it looks okay. So let's put on the shield. So we have a whole power sword instead of halves, and let's put on the shield to complete that King Grayskull look. So there you go. So that way looks really nice, and the customization is really just simple, just a little bit of paint, red paint on the areas on the armor or protectors, and just swapping out parts. So instead of breaking figures apart and reutilizing them, and then later we have a broken figure which would go to the trash can, then that is just a waste of money. So instead of breaking figures apart, I just swapped figures, the parts apart, and painted some. So here we go. So let's put King Grayskull 1, King Grayskull 2, and my custom He-Man figure. So even if they look quite similar because of the outfit, but the differences would be on the chest harnesses. So different colors, different designs on the chest harnesses. This supports the Revelation He-Man chest harness. That is a Motu Classics He-Man chest harness, and that is the original chest harness of this figure. So just a little bit of swap here and there, and you have 3 nice figures that you could put on display this way. And at the same time, I sport all whole power swords. So you could just imagine that the power swords would transfer from one person to the other. So instead of having hubs and different power swords, so that is the purpose of this build. We have at least some kind of continuity. So whether you use this King Grayskull or you use this King Grayskull, it's a win-win situation for your collection display. So if you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe, and see you on the next custom figure review.